Welcome back to Watching the Throne on the Late Night Chat Network. All right, welcome back, everybody, to Watching the Throne on the Late Night Chat Network. This is the Game of Thrones review show where me and JT and sometimes a guest, now with our first guest ever, Christina, joining us here today, aka Spider in the Garden, as she she is here today. But yeah, no, join us to discuss Game of Thrones episode by episode. And today we are in the middle of season 3. We're going to be talking about season 3, episode 4. It is 4. Okay. I was like, I didn't update it last time, so I got to make sure I got it right here. And now his watch is ended, which of course takes its name from one of the scenes in the episodes, as many of these tend to do. But yes, we're just moving along here. Season 3. What'd you guys think of this episode overall before we get into it? Christina?
One of my favorite scenes of the whole series is in this episode, so I'm hyped. I'm ready.
Yeah.
I'm going to be speaking Valyrian. It's going to be good. I'm just going all out.
I was about to say, when we get to that part here at the end, maybe we'll leave it up to you to set the scene up for that.
I'll narrate it.
Yeah, I was about to say, one of your favorite scenes. I'll hand over the Meister stats to you to kind of lay out the scene for us on that one, since I'm sure you'll have a lot to say. So that's awesome. Yeah, this is a monster of a scene for sure, guys. If you've yet to see this episode, if you're watching it, you happen to be watching this, rewatching it, however you're coming across this Game of Thrones episodes, because I know a lot of people are rewatching it now. Even your dad, you recently said.
Well, he's already ahead of me.
There you go.
What the fuck?
It seems to be the case usually when like these spin-off shows or whatever, like a certain amount of time passes that people do revisit, like, some of these shows that they love. So it's nice to have heard so many people are actually going out and rewatching this show. And when we started doing this show, Christina had mentioned that she had just happened to be rewatching it at that moment in time. It's not like we had planned it that way. You're like, yeah, I'm almost at the end of the show again, the last time we spoke. And then I think since then you've actually restarted it again, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, I'm a diehard. I'm a nut. I'm a nutcase. I can't. I don't know. I know there's a million other things to watch. I just can't. It's a comfort.
Like what yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, and I'm just happy to hear that there's possibly going to be more coming, like more shows that spin up, because when we started this show, and like as I mentioned, guys, this is my first time rewatching this show. I haven't seen any of these episodes for years and years and years since they first aired, because at this point I was regularly watching week to week, right? So it's been as fun for me as it has been for even JT discovering this show for the first time. But like, it's just interesting to hear, like, this is such a rich world and so many it's such a big world and so many characters and lineages, like family trees of different characters that are really just barely mentioned sometimes in these episodes or in passing, and obviously all the stuff that happened before where we are in present day in this show. So like, there's just so many spin-off shows they can do. They can literally do one for every family that's like a big family in the realm, right? Like at this point in time. And Jay, did you remember to bring what you were going to show off here on the show here today with Christina here?
I couldn't dig them out, bro. I have it all dug up. I mean, I can go as you guys are talking, but
you want to tell Christina what it was that you were going to show us? Yeah, I hope he brings it to a next episode with you then, if that's the case.
Yeah, no, I have the scotches, the collection of the scotches.
You do? I remember buying the wines and stuff, but like, I never bought the scotches or the liquors, so that's cool.
Yeah.
He has all
of relics somewhere in the closet somewhere.
Yeah, he has all the families, like the different houses.
Nice.
Yeah.
So nice. I'd like to see if there's any new ones that come out for the House of Dragons, but we'll see, right? Like, I mean, they've already brought out the wine for the House of Dragons. So.
Right, I saw that.
They have? Yeah. Oh, sweet.
Yes. Okay. Recently, I saw that too. Yeah, I've yet to have it.
Well, it's been a little while, but I mean, it all depends on what store you go to, right?
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. The one store that's by me doesn't have it, but then I went to one of the larger stores that's by us, and which has a really large selection. And it was about a month ago that I saw it, I think there. So
Okay, nice.
there, yeah. So, and not too expensive either. I think it was like $20 something, if I'm not mistaken.
You're buying it for the novelty, anyways. Like, who cares what it actually tastes like?
Yeah, exactly. It's just kind of cool to have, right? Yeah, no, for sure. So I'll have to.
I'm hoping the scotches go up in price. That's what I'm hoping.
I think so. If you have those like actually sealed,
those don't go bad, right?
Yeah, you don't drink. And Jay actually bought these, Christina, at a time where he never even watched the show. He just bought them because he thought they were cool or something, or maybe hoping they go up in value. I don't know. What was your thought process behind that, Jay? Without actually having
maybe a little bit of both. Maybe I don't know. I have no idea. Maybe I just wanted to feel like I was part of the in crowd. Who knows?
Because they were limited, right? Like those aren't on the market anymore. Like that was
a
time thing. Johnny Walker, they're Johnny Walker scotches, if I'm not mistaken.
No, those are just the regular basic ones. But then they have
Johnny
Walker, high end scotches. Right? No, but they are, most of them are all high end scotches, like stuff that's over $100 and not more. Right?
Wow. Yeah, I remember the Johnny Walker one, like, because it was a White Walker, like on the bottle. Like I remember that, like, but I don't.
Yeah, no, those are just the basic ones, like, for everybody, where they had like the wrap around the plastic.
Yeah.
This one's a whole fucking tin, and then
sick.
Yeah. So the next time Christina's on,
I was like, they make me want to really fucking pull everything out of my closet. I got to do it nice. I just cleaned my room. So.
Been teasing this since we started this show, Christina. So next time she's on, Jay, because like I said, guys, this is hopefully not the last time you'll see Christina on the show here. I hope she'll be joining us some more, and yeah, no, it's been fun having you, and hopefully Jay can show us the scotches on the next episode.
Yeah, they're all the different houses, right? So
I do want to see them. I'm interested myself because I've never seen them, right? So that's pretty cool. So there you go. So
Jay, don't forget.
Yeah, don't forget.
You just reminded me before this episode. I would have fucking tried to dig them out, make a mess right now. I totally forgot.
I just remembered myself that you had mentioned it. But
man,
Jay, what are your thoughts on this episode overall, though? What do you think of this one?
It was interesting. It was a good conniving little. They know what they're doing. You know what I was just about to say, but no, yeah, you're starting to learn about a lot of what's going on with slowly what's going on in this season. Well, not slowly. It's actually picking up pretty quick.
Yeah, there's some big moments in this episode. I was about to say, like, me,
I kind of corrected myself there.
4 episodes in, there's been some good stuff so far in this season. And I think this is, like I said, I think it only gets better from here on out. And even moving into like the 5th season, there's a lot of shit that I really enjoy. I was looking over some of the episodes the other day. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to what's coming up. Honestly, this is but go ahead. Yeah.
But no, this is one of the ones that Christina was saying that there's a lot of setups and innuendos and sort of like fucking you got to keep your ears open to and just remember because you feel like it's setting up for different scenes.
Yeah,
you don't know. You gotta kind of read between the lines. I feel in certain ones, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of
stuff said. Yeah.
Which is always nice revisiting the shows for that matter, because the first time around, you don't actually realize what they're trying to set up. And then
it's so hard, man.
It makes a lot more sense as second go around, or even like in Christina's case, the 5th or 6th go around, right? And it's nice to hear that you're still actually learning things about the world and the people in the show. And like, there's still new developments for you every time you watch it. Like in that,
like
your feelings have changed drastically, even like you said, moving towards the end of the show, which we definitely got to have you on for, because like you said, we have it on the record that you were on a show talking about it with us, talking about the finale. So we'd love to have you on for that again, to kind of even for you to kind of compare and contrast like your comments originally first time around, right?
Yeah, I'd be very interested to listen to what I was saying.
You were not a happy camper, I recall.
No, I wasn't. And like, let me just clarify. Like, yes, I've watched the show like 5 or 6 times, but like the last season, even like season 7, I've only seen like now twice, because like I watched season 1 through 5, let's say, the 5 or 6 times, but then season 6 and 7, because I was watching it as it was airing. Right. So I've only seen those a handful of times, like 2 times, let's say. So season 8, I actually refused to watch from this you know,
You're like,
until recently.
the show's done for me here, right? You're like, yeah, it's not even worth checking out again. You kind of felt.
No, I'm done. Like I was always a big like.
Listen, I don't want to make it seem like you were like alone. There is the fans were divided when that season came out. Like that whole and as we know, unfortunately, when you learn about these things, all the things that were going on behind the scenes for the production of this super fucking successful show are just ridiculous too. Like there was a lot of stuff happening, like to the point where like they had to wrap up the show. Like there was just too much bad blood going on, like between like, you know, like there was a lot of bad stuff in terms of the production, like in this show behind the scenes that were
right? Mostly like
DCP
was like wanting to peace out to go make the next horrendous thing that they did, which was Star Wars, but we're not going to talk about that. So, you know.
So there you go. Yeah. All right. but definitely
maybe we could agree on horrendous, maybe, probably, if it's Star Wars. Yeah.
Fuck you, JT. All right.
They go from dragons to fucking hairy monsters.
He hates Star Wars, so okay.
You hate Star Wars?
Thank you.
I can't stand
How are we
it.
friends?
He's a Star Trek guy.
Oh, you're a Trekkie. Okay.
He's a Trekkie. So I'm like, okay, whatever. I get it, I guess. But
I don't like fantasy.
Yeah.
So you like Star Trek.
I like Game of Thrones, though.
Yeah, he's here for the boobs and the dragons, guys. That's all he's here for the
Aren't we all?
Yeah, that's right.
I was gonna say.
Yeah, it is one of the highlights of the show for sure. All right, so let's get into it, guys. We're talking about now his watch has ended. Game of Thrones season 3, episode 4, and the episode starts off where we left off with Jaime without a hand. And you see in this scene is not only is it without a hand, it's tied around his neck now, and they're literally dragging Jaime through the mud in this scene with his one hand. And as they end up continuing to torture him, he tries fighting back with his sword in his one hand, of course, which would throw anybody off because now you only have one hand to do something. I mean, Jaime's a great swords fighter. He is a knight, and yet now he's his
non-dominant hand, like they chopped off his sword hand.
So he tries to make an attempt to sword fight with him, fails, has no success in that happening, and basically collapses. And they're just beating the shit out of him in this opening scene, and literally in the mud, right? Like he's getting dragged through the mud literally at the start of this scene, and again, like the crazy visual that you see already is the fact that his hand is hanging around his neck, which I think
I didn't even notice that part.
Cool
I just
visual.
see him fall to the floor. Yeah,
a cool visual because it's just kind of hanging there, and he's wearing it almost like a badge of honor. They got it,
like a trophy.
Yeah, it's fucked up. Yeah. So,
and he tried to fight him, and then he's just outnumbered and outhand.
Yeah. Which I want to just say right here, like Jaime, for me, has one of the best character arcs in the whole show for me. Because I feel like you really start off hating Jaime at the start of the show. And I think as over time, he grew on me a little bit. And that's not to say like he's going to do great things ahead of time, Jay. I'm not trying to spoil anything for you, but I kind of came around on the character somewhat at a certain point where I really did not like this character. And then as the series went on, I liked him. And then maybe my opinion changed once again towards the end of him.
It's not going to change.
But I don't know where you stand on this character, Christina. Do you like the character or you do not like the character?
Yeah, like I like all the characters. Like it's hard. Like I don't have everyone has
Joffrey, come on.
But even in Joffrey, in his like insanity, is like he's a great character.
You love to hate the character, yes.
Of course, like yes, but like all the characters were so well cast, did such a great job. It's hard not to love and hate them at different points in this whole show.
Yeah, but I just think like like in all shows, like sometimes people's character arcs, like you'll change, like you'll your feelings about them as time goes on, and that's
of course
that's kind of the beauty of having like a really great character arc. Like even like I know a lot of people like to compare like what's his name, Bryan Cranston on Breaking Bad, like kind of over time how he developed.
I loved him in that.
That's what I mean, though. Again, started at one point ended at a completely different place and point and type of character and way he was and everything, all the bad things he did along the way, where at the end you're kind of rooting for the guy, but you're like, no, this guy's a fucking horrible human being, like at this point in time, right? So like that's what makes a great character. Like, some of the best characters I feel are anti-hero type people on TV, like Tony Soprano. Like these are all characters I really love and are fantastic fucking characters, but like, and not to say that Jaime's in that like, he's not like in that sense like as good as those characters I just mentioned, but like I didn't like the guy when the show started. Like, why would you? The guy is like, you know, he's banging his sister and like you're like he's a kingslayer and everything else, and like, you know, it's just like, why
But
would
if you think about it, it's like, you know, now we're seeing this like maybe softer, weaker version of Jamie because, you know, with his relationship building with Brienne and everything, but he's always had it in him because of how he feels and how he defends Tyrion. And
yeah,
so it's like, of course, what
but,
you're seeing is the
but
like,
but you haven't seen that as much at this point in time with Tyrion. They haven't really spent much time together at this point in the series. You're right. That comes later on though. And I agree with you. He is one of the nicest people to Tyrion, like out of everybody who just,
but even in the small scenes that you do see him in, with
you can
him,
tell, like,
he's kind of nice to him. Yeah.
there's respect and love. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
you know, so I like, yeah, again,
More
like,
than what his father has for him.
But
let's
you know what?
talk in like a couple seasons, you know, we'll talk about the character arc of Jaime Lannister.
Coming back on the show. Don't worry. You're going to be on this season later on too, guys. You already were talking about that. So Tyrion meets with Varys regarding his sister's attempt to take his life at the Battle of Blackwater, right? And hoping he has proof of this from one of his little birds, as he you know, says all the time, right? Now for me, this is again monster scenes in this episode. This is
We're gonna say this is a big one too.
sorry, that this is probably like the way this scene develops, like, is one of my favorite scenes. Like, I don't know about in the whole series, but like I forgot about this. Quite honestly, like I did not remember this scene, and I was like, "Wow, what a fucking scene when this ended!" Right? Like, this is an awesome scene. This Varys stuff. So basically, you know, he asks if he finally wants to hear the story that he had teased previously, and J.N.O. wanted to hear it. He was very interested. He had mentioned that.
Dying, man, to hear this
There's
story.
about 2 other attempts that he kind of was going to let him know this story about. He became like a eunuch previously, right? So, and mind you, while this is all going on, you're seeing him lift planks off of like this
Crate.
yeah,
Like this huge crate.
and like they reference it, but again, like Tyrion comes in, he's like looking at him do this, and he's like struggling to like lift these planks, and they don't really, you see him doing this, but they don't like kind of point it out, or he doesn't say what he's doing. So the whole time you're kind of just listening to his story, and you're kind of getting interested in his story, right? But they don't actually make reference to like what's actually happening, like what we're seeing develop, right? Which I thought was really well done. And he kind of gets into this story about how he, you know, as a boy, he was traveled with a group of actors, and one day in Muir, I think he said, a man made
MYR, right?
and an offer too tempting to refuse, and he basically, you know, got sold away to him, and he feared he was going to take advantage of him as a young boy, as some people tend to do, right? And he says, instead he fed him a potion that made him powerless to move or speak, but yet he could still feel pain, in which he got mutilated as a result. Like, he basically burned all his, like, you know, like his balls and dick off and everything else below the, like, he basically says, like, he ends up like,
He says root and stem.
that's right. Yeah, that's what he refers to it as. Yeah.
He threw it in then he put it in the fire, he lit it on fire or some shit.
And he's kind of like telling him the details of this like chilling tale about how he kind of became that way. But he kind of is now, obviously, because he's lived with it for a certain period of time. You know what I mean? Like, it's not so like he's kind of just delivering the story to him. Like, he's not like, you know, like it seems like he's acting like he's not super troubled by it, but he's kind of just telling him the grisly details of it. And then again, you come to learn why he may be happy in this moment. And as he continues to do this thing with the crate, right?
He's got the Jack in the fucking box.
Yeah.
Oh.
So he basically,
is that the guy who did it to him?
The sorcerer.
Yes. So he still dreams of the voice that came out of the flames. He mentions that he's kind of still bothered by that, and basically that the sorcerer cast, he says, and since that day he's hated magic. Like, that's why, because previously he had asked him, Tyrion, I think in the second season, he had mentioned magic stuff to him, and he's like, yeah, no, I've seen things. He's like, believe me, it exists, and I don't like it. And because Tyrion's always been kind of like the skeptic out of everybody, like kind of because he's more intelligent, he feels like, than everybody else, which he is, a lot of these guys, but he also doesn't believe in like White Walkers and things of that nature because he hasn't really traveled the world like in that sense, right? Like these other people.
He's a realist too. He's like, if it hasn't been written in a book or that I haven't seen with my own eyes, then
it doesn't exist. Yeah, exactly. So he's very
yeah.
But yes, he basically Tyrion asked for his aid as he no longer has any influence or sway, and he then worked his way up from. He mentions how he worked his way up from the slums of Myr, selling himself out to basically get to where he is now, Varys. And he says the whole time again he's removing these boards out of the box, and then when he basically comes to the end of his story, he reveals an old man. It looks like his mouth is sewn up inside the box as well, right? That's what it appears to be. And here's the picture. Oh, this is him lifting the last board off this. And just when he gets to the end of his story, like Tyrion looks in and you see this man like kind of cowering down, all fucked up, and his mouth is sewn up. And he's like the sorcerer, or the wizard, or whatever the hell. I think he's a sorcerer. He's like, and he realizes like the crescendo of his story was the fact he's like, yeah, I have little birds everywhere, and I finally, or tentacles, or he said something like that. I finally got a hold of what I've been looking for this whole time, and it's the person from his story, the very man he just spoke about that mutilated him. He now had in this box that he got a hold of, right? And what a fucking crazy reveal, like that.
Yeah,
he just plans on torturing the shit out of this guy now because he's been looking for him, I guess, since this had occurred, and he's in a position of power now of some sort, right, in the capital there. And it's great. Like go ahead. Yeah,
he talks about, like, has a lot of great like metaphors and one-liners in this whole scene where he talks about revenge, and because Tyrion wants revenge, and Varys says to him, like, revenge will come, you just have to be patient and have the stomach for it.
Yeah, he basically says he has no doubt that the revenge he seeks will be his in time if he has the stomach.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, but it's, again, already this guy's been tortured. You can see his fingernails are ripped out. He's got his mouth sewed up, and he's just disgusting and dirty, and like, you know what I mean, like haggard, and you could hear him trying to like say something, obviously because he's in pain, but like his mouth is sewn up. It's just such a shocking visual. Like, it was such a shocking visual for me to like revisit this one, and like I love how they kind of led up to this story that they've been teasing us for, like, this whole last season. They kind of mentioned it, and Jay really wanted to know. I remember at that time he's like, I need to find out what happened with this guy, right? And just like kind of to relate that to what Tyrion was saying about him wanting revenge, I thought was just brilliantly done, the setup of this whole scene.
Yeah, it's a great scene.
And I love Varys. Varys is revisiting this, it was reminded me how much I love his character. With his words, and I like how even him and Baelish kind of go up against one another throughout the series as well in certain occasions, and I like how
it's like one gossip queen over versus another. It's like who's got the more information, like who's gonna,
I just, again, I like that there's this certain aspect of the show with certain people that they know, and they are using information as power, and they know that, and they've stated it before already. And I do like that aspect of it, because like, just like you said, like with Tyrion uses his smarts, his intellect, like, and these people are basically using whatever they have at their disposal to kind of like play the game, right? So I kind of really respect that these people aren't your people you would expect, like a little person, obviously, or in this situation. And like, this guy Varys, like you wouldn't expect this guy to be like so powerful in certain situations, but he is, right? So yeah, good stuff.
Yeah, for sure. Jay, what do you think?
He knows how to play the game.
Yeah,
those are the two that know. I mean, there's two of them that really know how to play. Maybe three, I could say altogether, that I could see so far. Well, maybe four now that I'm thinking about it. They're pretty good. They're at least on the board still, right?
Yeah, Jay likes Varys a lot too. I know that's a character you've enjoyed a lot of his scenes previously with him and Tyrion, right? And I like that he seems to have an ally in Tyrion, or Tyrion believes that he has an ally in Varys at this point.
Nobody's got friends in fucking
That's the
Game of
thing.
Thrones.
He said before not to trust it. Like these guys they said that they're not trustworthy. This, like, they kind of just. The difference between Varys and Baelish that's illustrated, I think, moving forward is that he cares about the realm and Baelish cares about himself. Like that's, I think, like the difference that like between these two, at least that's how he states it, right? So
seems like it.
Yeah.
Pretty accurate.
Yeah. And then next scene we got Sam who oh no, hold on, sorry, Night's Watch.
Yeah.
Men are shoveling shit as guests in Lord Craster's keep there, and all of them are miserable and wanting to leave at this point.
Yeah.
This is a terrible fucking place. No one wants to be.
I think they even make reference to like the pigs are treated better than they are, and
and because of the
he gets more for his pigs than his women too, especially. That's another one.
Because of the messed up operation he's got going on here with the women, right? Like that's it. They obviously, he says he's got mouths to feed, they come first and everything else, but like it's disgusting how again this whole situation's bad. Like they should never have allied with this guy, like the Night's Watch. And I think John called it out in the last season already. Like he doesn't understand why, you know what I mean? Like they have to use them as a ally. But Sam visits and her newborn, asks if she's given her son a name. And she basically, says like, why would I bother? Because, what happens here, right? Like, and, again, so that's kind of a dark scene.
Well, we don't know, really. We just know that they're brought somewhere, bro, into the forest. That's all.
That's enough. Isn't that traumatizing enough? Like, if you have a boy,
maybe they might be saved.
I don't know. I guess either scenario is messed up because either
they'll get special powers out there. I'm waiting.
Get taken away, or the girl's going to grow up and just become like another wife, or I don't even know. So I don't know what's worse.
This is not a good situation, right?
No.
Sam already kind of recognized.
He's a real sicko, man.
Yeah.
And he's like proud of it too. Like, in like a later scene, obviously he gets into it, but like,
no, I know he's disgusting. This guy, there's some truly horrible human beings on this show. That's the thing. I think that's sometimes when people have told me they've watched Game of Thrones, or like they talk about Game of Thrones, they're like, it's just all horrible human beings trying to one up each other, right? Like there's like pretty much. But so Bran has a vision in this next scene where he's trying to see the three-eyed raven. He's climbing up on like a tree to kind of get a look at him, and his mother yells at him for climbing until he basically falls off, and then he kind of gets comes out of the vision there, right?
So funny
Jojen is like staring at him.
That's how you know he's dreaming, right? Because he's running. If he's running, then he's dreaming.
Also, unpopular opinion, possibly. Yeah, exactly. Unpopular opinion, maybe. I'm not a huge fan of his storylines either throughout the series. I know he's important to the grand scheme of things.
Is he?
Yeah, I think it's over.
I don't know. It's just.
Oh, so you agree with me? Because he has a lot of fans. His storyline, okay.
I mean, there's a purpose for sure, but like
everything as the series goes on, you can tell has a purpose. Like nothing is just.
It could have been done in one season. Like it did not need to drag out for like 7 seasons.
Yeah, I mean, it's not my favorite his storylines. I think, and I think unlike the Jon Snow stuff, revisiting it this time around, I've liked it a little more. I still kind of feel the same about his scenes. Like, again, like it's hard even knowing what's to come. I'm like, like these scenes are kind of boring, some of them, right? And like it's interesting, like seeing what do you think of them, Jay? Do you like the scenes with do you like figuring, like finding out about his abilities that he has right now, like whatever they may be, like or the development of this whole storyline so far?
For Bran?
Yeah.
Bran. Bran, sorry. I don't mind seeing what's going on. I mean, obviously it's cooler to see what he's doing in his dreams, and when he's getting piggybacked everywhere.
Is there any storylines right now do you think are less than, though? Like, is there any that you're not digging?
Well, I mean, that would be
any of the character storylines. Like, because I think, like I said, like as you can tell, me and Christina have certain favorites over others. Is there anything that you haven't been enjoying, or are you just kind of like soaking it all in right now? You like everything?
I feel like I'm soaking it more in than anything because, to be honest with you, I'm still trying to figure it out. Like, You know, I've gotten up to a certain point, and I don't know who I like yet 100%. I like the one, and they killed him off in the first season, so fuck that. I don't know what to do now, right? I
Well,
honestly almost didn't want
Everybody
to
loved
watch it.
Ned.
yeah, Ned. That's the whole point of that character. Like he was the moral compass of this show. Like, you know what I mean? There is no good people really. Well, there is, but it's like it's all like in the Stark lineage, really, like for the most part at this point in time, right? Like there's certain people in the Starks that you could really you like, right? Like I don't think, if I'm not mistaken, Christina, you're not a big fan of Sansa, if I'm not mistaken, right? Yeah. so, so there you go.
He seems so innocent, though.
Uh,
For now, maybe, I guess.
Yeah, okay. Innocent doesn't equal good.
yeah.
Like, I don't know. Well, yeah, no, I'm not even
Maybe
gonna touch
that's
that
where I've
one.
had it all wrong. Yeah.
I don't want to influence you one way or another. So yeah, she's fine.
Fair enough.
Right now, she's fine.
So then we cut back over to Varys. He speaks to one of the what's the girl's name? The Varys
Roz,
Roz. Okay, speaks to Baelish's basically assistant at this point. It seems
his
like
secretary.
secretary, yeah, and who's telling him, they've
Here's
talked
we go.
before, like this is one of his confidants, let's say, like Varys, right? And you know, she's telling him the tale of how Podrick was extraordinary in his lovemaking. Like it's just so funny because again they're picking up on that storyline from last episode. He's like, what did he do to them? Right? He's like, Mary's just like so puzzled by this, right?
He's shocked.
Yeah, and basically, you know, she then goes on to say, you know, and he's like, well, what did Baelish think when he didn't get paid for their services? And he's like, you know, Baelish is too preoccupied with what's going on with him leaving to do that, you know, to like we said, the Aaron, yeah,
To marry Lysa Arryn, in the Eyrie, in the Vale.
right. He's kind of been preoccupied with going there and to learning to care that they weren't paid, she says. And she basically then goes on to share that he has planned to bring 2 feather beds with him on the trip, and she thinks you know, that she thinks that he's still interested in Sansa as a result of this move, because like there was that whole conversation previously with Shay that they're trying to protect. There's a lot of people right now trying to protect Sansa's best interests in this situation, right? It's not just them, but they're looking at, he's kind of trying to look after Sansa as a favor to Tyrion, and then there's the whole Tyrion with Shay. He's telling her to look after her. So there's like a whole group of people looking after Sansa without her even being aware of it.
Well, he also has motives. Like I think even in the scene they even talk about it. Like, what are his motives for bringing her? Like, what is it? And it's like, oh, okay, it's because she's, you know, the heir to the Stark line.
That's right.
And if for whatever reason, if Rob falls, guess what?
Yes.
Like, you know, so
he's a slimy motherfucker.
He is,
that's
but
what I'm saying. He can't get in there with the mother. He might as well get in there with the fucking daughter, right?
Well, the sister first and then the daughter. Like, you know, so it's like he is working his way
into the family. Yeah, one way or another. It's true. Yeah.
I do have a fun fact about Roz though.
Go ahead.
So her character was actually only supposed to be in that first scene in season 1.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it was George R. Martin or the director. Anyways, one of them liked her so much and thought her character was like so useful to the story that they actually wrote more scenes in the show for her. But she wasn't supposed to like originally like have more. So the fact that she's still in it, season 3, is like a big deal because she was not supposed to be there.
Oh, cool. Good for her. I mean,
yeah.
I mean, unfortunately, that had to come to an end with this, but with you know,
what are you talking about? She gets married and marries, you know, a lord and lives happily ever after. What are you talking about?
I'm trying not to pay attention. Don't worry. Certain parts, yeah, I know where Nico's gonna go off. I feel like I know where he's gonna start saying something that he's gonna go back on like he just did. Well, you know, so I kind of zone out.
Yeah. So, but yeah, that is a fun fact. I actually didn't know that about her. Good for her that she actually play a pretty pivotal role in this season, and also like as a go-between between Baelish and these guys, right? So yeah, as one of her Varys's confidants. So yeah, it's pretty awesome that she actually just had a small scene and actually had this other opportunity. That's awesome.
Yeah, she wasn't just the lady that flashed them on the wagon.
But
And
she's not gonna do any more flashing, is she? Like everybody else in this fucking show.
he was very disappointed to hear, Christina. I had to let him know that after the first season, the actress who plays Daenerys stopped getting naked, and he was very
She's
disappointed.
too cool. She's got dragons now.
So Varys speaks to
Well, I mean, last episode, I apparently like when he said that she thinks she's just gonna flash her tits over here. Like, no, she doesn't because she hasn't done it since season 1.
Wow, you're really upset about this.
yeah, there's plenty of
very
that
much so.
around. There's plenty of that still this season.
Very much so.
The Varys speaks to one of I already said that. Joffrey talks with Margaery Tyrell while giving her a tour of the castle. Cersei ends up speaking to her grandmother. Her name is
Olenna.
Olenna. That's right, Tyrell. Yeah. And they trade stories about, sons and family and this kind of stuff. And Marjorie seems to be leaning into his sadistic side and playing him. It seems like I do get that from this scene. She's kind of like trying to I don't know.
She's building. Yeah, she's trying to get him. Like she's playing her own game. Obviously, she's playing Cersei and trying to subtly tell Cersei like you have no power over him. And she's also trying to keep him happy enough to continue the marriage so that she can do what she needs to do.
You don't want to piss off that mama's boy.
If you before we continue with this, did you guys notice what they were talking about?
About what?
I didn't catch it.
Did you notice what Joffrey was talking about?
Yeah, he was talking about all the dead Targaryens in the
yes, that's right.
Yeah, but did you notice who? Did you recognize who he was talking about?
Aegon?
No, he at first. So in the first scene, like when the scene first started, and they were looking through the grate, he was talking about Rhaenyra. Targaryen.
Oh, see, I didn't know on that. Ah, okay, that's all.
Well, you know what's funny? I wrote Rhaenyra right here too.
Yeah,
and I just didn't remember how to pronounce it. I wrote it down.
He was talking about Rhaenyra Targaryen.
I didn't catch
that. How like right in that spot, she was murdered by her brother. No, it was actually his dragon, and her remains are somewhere down there.
Well, there's a little
spoiler while their son watched
the dragon. So there's a little like maybe
an aider while their son watched, bro.
There you go.
You forgot that part in it.
You know that's gonna happen at some point in House of the Dragon because it's already been foretold. Then I guess if you're gonna believe Joffrey's,
better be. Otherwise, I'm gonna have to speak out.
Story. Never know. I mean, as you know, things like from back in the day, sometimes in terms of their record keeping, there's details that that have changed over time. You never know, but that's interesting. I did not catch that. That's really interesting. Okay. Okay.
That was just before
good catch. With there you go. We have to change Meister stats to Christina.
Hey, I got it. I wrote it down too because I was writing all their names. Once they started talking about the Targaryens, I wanted to see where I am now. In that,
it's funny. I never even noticed that. Never paid attention to it because I know they talk about the Targaryens like a lot, but I never like paid attention to it or never really fully grasped it until House of the Dragon.
Well, that's what I was trying to tell JT too about House of the
brother in House of Dragon was the shit though.
Which one?
Daemon?
Brother, Daemon. Yeah, he was the shit. I like him, man.
I was trying to tell Jay about House of the Dragon. What makes that interesting for me too is because I said like Valerians and Valeria and like the Valerian steel, like it was always referenced a lot in Game of Thrones, but I didn't feel like represented as well in terms of like the characters, like until like, and there's people speaking Valerian, but it was like in House of the Dragon, it's just front and center, like one of the main kind of like, you know what I mean? Like it's much different. I think like if you compare that,
big house, right?
Yeah. Well, that's what I mean. Like it's interesting to see like the different like people they're focusing on in that show, obviously compared to this show, right? Because I think Valerian, like is there any big Valerian characters other than like, you know what I mean? Like
no, they were all wiped out.
Right. So exactly.
They're all wiped out. It's like all those like, and then you'll notice there's houses in House of the Dragon that no longer exist in the Game of Thrones world,
right?
Because they just get wiped out. Like
Right.
It just happens.
Well, it took them the whole season until like those final scenes, other than the passing moment with one of the Lannisters in that season, for them to actually go to those houses when they were trying to see who was going to aid them and align with them in that war against one another, like in their own family.
Yeah.
Like that's when they kind of were like, okay, we got to go see the Starks. We got to go see the Tyrell. Like they had never really mentioned them previous to that, and that was at the end of that season. Like they were referenced, but not like
it was like actually they do a little bit, like when they were bending the knee to Rhaenyra when she was crowned heir,
right.
like you see like Eddard Stark like being like bending the knee, certain things like that, but there's a lot of houses that no
Right.
longer exist.
Right. Yeah,
But I know they do bring it back a lot more, like as the allyship needs to
right.
be.
Well, that's why I kind of tried to have to remind Jay, because I'm like, your focus is on the Valerians a lot in this show, but I'm like, other than like the reference of the language or the Valerian steel and all this other stuff, I'm like, you're not really going to get that representation in this show. That's what I was trying to tell him. I'm like, that's what's interesting about House of the Dragon. I said, because we had never really seen Valerians like that on until House of the Dragon, right? So yeah, no, for sure. So that's interesting. But good catch. No, that's awesome. That's really cool to kind of connect. And those are the things I've been looking for revisiting it this time around. And until you actually, and even like I said, sometimes you still miss it, like until you actually start to analyze the show like this, like the way we're doing, you miss out on some of these things, right? So yeah, basically and this is when Margaery seems to be she gets him to address his people, and she comes out and starts waving to the people outside with him, and as we know, he's very afraid of them. Like he's after like that whole like they hate them in King's Landing, like they hate the royalty, like they're all like homeless, these people, right? Like in the capital, which is like a really bizarre kind of thing going on here, like you know what I mean? But then like look at even Toronto. Right? You know what I mean? Like, that's what I mean. Sometimes these big cities, it doesn't matter. Like you think that it'll represent the best of folks, but that's not always the case, right? As you can see here, because they don't treat their people like, and Jay, like you'll see as this series develops, like it's they really don't care, give a shit about their own people there in King's Landing, right? Like it's just
no, they're too preoccupied with keeping their power and getting more and
sleeping with their brothers and sisters. I know. I've been following along.
So they greet the crowd, and he gets in the way.
Bloodline pure.
Well, Cersei has a scowl on her face in the background. Like she does not like Margaery, as we already know. Like she does not like what's going on with her and her son.
Well, because she sees that Joffrey is like being taken away from her. Like she sees the divide is happening.
Yeah.
That's
yep.
That's just from being a mama's boy that he is, being on the tit too long.
I don't even think he's a mama's boy. I think Cersei just inserts herself and
into his life,
into his life, and just pacifies him. Like she just allows him to do and say whatever he wants.
Wasn't he gonna do something to her for slapping him that time in one of the first
episodes? He threatened her, like he was gonna he threatened her too. He's like, don't try to do that. Like I'm the king, right? Don't forget. Like he did threaten.
And coming from a mama's boy, I don't think we'd do that. Yeah.
No. Watch
he already told her to shut up when he was talking badly about Margaery the last step, like a few episodes ago. Jay, you forgot that too. Remember, she tried to say, "Oh yeah, I don't trust this girl." She did. She told him as much. She doesn't like her, and
he shut her down and was like,
"Yeah, whatever,
women should do."
Yeah, exactly.
Listen and be quiet.
She's got the look on her, like when she looks at Joffrey too, like she wants to fuck him, like not Cersei. I'm saying Margaery. She's got that look, like she wants to run his. Like, look at that. That's just an evil, sexy look.
Look at that. Me and Jay are big fans of Margaery.
She's beautiful. Natalie Dormer. She's beautiful. She's a great actress
too. Wasn't she in Hunger Games at one point?
Yes,
right.
She was.
Yeah, I that's for me, like she's she's like my favorite, I think, in Game of Thrones, because like in terms of like some of the beautiful women that have been on the show, I really like her a lot. So.
And I actually read somewhere, another fun fact, that her wardrobe, if you notice, it's actually really intricately made and designed, but if you also notice it is barely holding on. Like it's barely attached to her body, and it was like a play, like when the costume designers were creating her costumes and outfits, they purposefully did it because they wanted to show how like delicate she is, but how in like detailed and how intricate she is as a person. Like she's not just this like delicate little flower that she comes off as.
Right.
Flower, high garden, get it?
Yes.
But like she's
That's interesting.
yeah,
That's
she's more so
yeah.
if you look at all of her outfits moving forward, like they're barely like attached to her shoulder, or they're
Well, that's this
super
one here. Yeah, that
plunging.
one.
Yeah, but if you the back of her dress in that one, it's all open. It's
right.
literally
One
being
here.
held by like a string. Like
Wow.
Jay's analyzing it.
No, I am. I'm trying to
Yeah.
look.
So like it's almost
Look,
yeah.
I mean,
She
I
seems all
can see
sweet
what you're
and
saying.
innocent, is what you're saying, but yet there's a whole other side to her, type of thing. Yeah.
There's
That looks like
yeah,
it's really on there.
yeah, and if
This
but if
looks like it might
like
go
in
around her
another
neck.
scene, if you see the back of it, it's like it's barely holding
Interesting.
on.
I didn't notice
I
that.
don't have
Yeah.
no,
Oh,
Yeah.
interesting. Maybe that's what
I
they
have no pictures of her.
that they planted on us as viewers. Then me and Jay, that's why we're like, oh, the archery. we like her a lot. Yeah. So
Yeah, because it's like any wrong move, gust of wind could like, oops,
right.
I'm waiting
she
for a
plays
boob
to
to
that
pop
like
out from that cleavage. Yeah, because like it's like so open there, and it just sits so perfectly. How if it's barely hanging on?
it's
All right.
constructed very well.
Very well, I
He's
can
great.
say.
All right.
Anyways,
Theon speaks with his savior in this next scene and says his sister sent him to help. He says he saw him when he left his home to serve the Starks. He's opening up to Theon a little bit about how he knows them and this and that. And he basically then, proceeds to whine to him about how he hated the Starks and how he, this same sob story he's been telling everybody, even though deep down, that's not how he really feels. I feel at least. And he basically, mentions how he's meant to be Ironborn and, he can never be a Stark, and says it's too late to make his father proud now. And this is where he does admit that he's like, no, he regrets the choices that he made. He's like, I think now he's finally seeing that, like, no matter what he does, he's never going to earn his father's respect. And this is where, even though he starts off telling him all this about the Starks, this and that, by the end of this kind of conversation, when he's opening up to him, he seems like he's finally like come to terms with the fact. He's like, yeah, no, I fucked up. Like, I should not have done what I did. And he seems remorseful, actually, for once in this scene after everything that happened. Because there was that whole scene with him with that Winterfell previously with them before they burnt everything down, how they're like, they're like, I don't know who you're trying to be right now. Like, no one understood where this was coming from. You know what I mean? Like, and it, like, why he came there and he became their enemy when they kind of accepted them as one of their own always. But like, again, I get the idea of it as well, being taken away and basically being someone else's son. It is kind of fucked up in a way too, what happened to him, right? It
All
is.
he wanted is his love from his old man, from his real old
but
man.
he says a few like really important things in this scene. He like calls Ned, or he admits that Ned was his father.
Yeah.
Like he's like, my real father lost his head in King's Landing. Like he says that. He also gives up the fact that he didn't actually like kill Bran and Rickon, so like there's a lot of things that he's like being very
It's a little bit
vulnerable about.
remorseful like a little bit almost remorseful that he killed some
Yeah.
orphans, for, right?
Which,
Yeah.
like, we've been seeing this develop for the past little bit since season 2. And I think, yeah, like he finally breaks down after like getting what he thinks is a moment's peace, getting getting saved here in this moment, right? And I guess he opens up to this guy.
Okay.
And that's when he turns around and brings him back to captivity.
Back on the cross or on the X or whatever it is.
Somehow he fools him into some sort of like, I don't know, like he does a circle with him and brings him back somewhere. Like, is it the very same place that he brought him back to at the end there, or is it a different place? It's a trap. Yeah, it's hilarious. Yeah, there you go. It's a trap. Yeah, there you go.
I was like, where? She's learning how to share things already.
It's a Star Wars joke, Jay.
That's literally the notes that I have, like in my thing. It's like, it's a trap.
Yeah. Admiral Akbar, salute, bud. Jay would not know because he hates on Star Wars. That's a Mon Calamari alien species. Jay.
Can we eat him? Is he like fish or what? Like calamari fish, like squid?
That's the name. It's supposed to, right? But
Yummy.
he's an admiral. You better show him some respect. But yeah, it's a trap is a very popular
him.
because it's it really was. And what did you think of this scene, Jay? Because this was shocking, right? Like what he did to him.
Well, yeah, it kind of seemed weird. Like he's making it sound like he's gonna take him back to or he's gonna go bring him to his old man or whatever. His sister,
fucked up, right?
Yeah. And then all of a sudden, boom, you see the X again, and I'm like, really, bro? Are you that stupid, man? Like, you know,
like
you
why
made yourself sound like a wuss, and that's what you get.
Like, why is he playing with him, Jay? Like, this is pretty fucked up. What's going on here?
Oh, I don't know, man. Does he want to have sex with him in the bum too, like the other guy, or what? I don't know. I'm starting to wonder now, bro.
So
that was such a stressful scene. Like the first time seeing it, I was just like, no. I remember the stress. Like, I mean, I've watched it so many times, but like even just seeing it again, it's just like, oh man, it's so deflating.
I was like, I remember, yeah, but I was like, oh my god, it's so fucked up what he does to him. Like he's just taunting him in this scene. Yeah, and then he's like, oh yeah, you feel that way? Oh, okay, here, let's bring you back.
Let's bring it back, you wuss.
Oh man, yeah. So, anyways, then we go over. We see Jaime all depressed now. He wants to eat. He basically says that he's dying, and he's sitting there not eating his food with his hand around his neck. And Brienne, there, who's kind of now been, she's now not tied up anymore. I think in this scene, is she, or is she tied up?
I think she.
They let her go a little bit at some.
I feel like they still have the rope around her. Okay. I think around her shoulders, because in the earlier scene when she was trying to help Jaime when they were beating him up, like she still was like bound by rope.
They haven't untied her as of yet because
no,
Bolton hasn't showed up yet, so I think that's why. Because yeah, that's right. So she says that he needs to live to get his revenge, basically, you know, because he seems like
he sounds like a bloody woman.
Oh, he's giving up. Yeah, she does say that to him. She's like,
says that. I was like, yeah,
he's really depressed and you know, his what kind of whole woe is me act that he has here. And she says, I know what this is a great scene. She says, like, I know what you did for me, like when he helped her out. And she references the facts, like, you lied about the sapphires. He's like, I'm from the Isle of the Sapphires because of the blue water. Like that's why they call it that, I guess, because the blue of the water, and that's why they call it that, not the fact that they actually have access to sapphires. So and she recognizes that because, you know, Jaime obviously is knowledgeable about this kind of stuff. She's like, you knew that though, didn't you? Like you knew. And she's like, even though like, and then that was the time when she was gonna get raped, right? Like that he was warning her about, right? And he actually went out of his way yet again, and it kind of backfired in his face, and they cut off his hand as a result. So again, like it was she's just sitting there like, why did you do that for me? Like she doesn't understand like why Jaime would go out of his way to protect his captor like this, right? Like, you know, and this is not the first time. There's been a few times on this journey he's kind of gone out of his way to protect her, right? And in terms of like, even as a prisoner tied up, like when people came across them and were gonna, you know, that ratted them out, that got him in this position to begin with, right? Like he's tried to like warn her of, right? So he's been looking out for her, you know, this whole time. So
yeah,
good scene though, and Cersei, then we see her. Yeah, another good. Yeah, this is just a banger of an episode. Actually, now that I look at it, is sitting there waiting to speak with her father. Tywin, you know, asks about Jaime and if they were doing all that they could to get him back. He questions why she doubts him. You know, and brings up, you know, like when Tyrion was taken, like what did I do? Like, you know what I mean? Like get him back. Like, so I don't know why you're doubting me here. And you know, did it ever occur to you that you have much more to contribute to what she says? Did it ever occur to you that I have much more to contribute to our situation? And this is when she gets in his ear and tells him that the Tyrells are a problem. Like she's like, yeah, the Tyrells, like they're gonna, like, I'm worried about the way they're worming their way in, you know, to our family here, and they're going to be a problem. It says Margaery has her claws in Joffrey. She knows how to manipulate him. And he says, good, I wish you knew how to fucking manipulate him, right? Like, or else we wouldn't be in this situation. Like he's put us in with half of this shit, right? Like he's just like, yeah, I wish you had more of a hold on him than that she does, right? And
yeah.
and says, the thing with you is you're not as smart as you think you are. He tells her, Cersei, right? Like Tywin's a cold ass fucking father, man. Like he's really bad. Like there's a toxic relationship between all these the kids and him. It's just really, he mentions that, and she basically says that you've allowed to go, let all this bullshit go on too long, and then she's like, yeah, well, why don't you put a stop to it then? Basically saying like, why don't you do something about it? Because I can't control the child. And he's like, I will. And there's that scene, right? That was a good one too, I thought. But Tywin also, I really, really like the actor that plays him. I think he's really good in this role.
Well,
yeah.
He also sorry, Jay, what'd you say?
He's got that demeanor for this. It's like, he's got that like low voice, fucking angry look. He's got that old father look, like,
Is he actually an actor, like traditionally? I know a lot of these people are. Like, I wonder if he is. I mainly know him as the bad guy from that Arnold Schwarzenegger movie.
I don't know. I don't know anything about him. I just know that he has gone on the record and is very like adamant about, or he stands by his decision to like not do any research on the character prior to being cast and or filming. Because he was like, a lot of the other cast like had read the books or really did deep dives into the characters, and and he was like, no, like I'm not, because I'm not gonna have my viewpoint skewed by things that are missing in the book.
Interesting.
Like to bring into the show.
Like you were saying before. Yeah. Because then you got to compare it. Like, oh, that's interesting.
I like to say what he was
adamant about it.
Did you ask what he was in other than fucking?
No, I know that he's from The Last Action Hero with Arnold Schwarzenegger. Like, that's where I know him from. He was the bad guy in that movie. And I remember him from my childhood, like watching that movie. So, and he had like a red eye in it. Like, he had this like eye that he took out like in that movie a lot. And he was a bad guy in that movie. He was really good. But
I see him as right here as the newest show he's on right now. That same guy is in 8 episodes of that Rabbit Hole one that just came out.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Yeah, no, I've seen him in other things too. I know I have. He's a really good actor. Like I like him a lot. So anyways, but then we see Olenna Tyrell.
This was like another stellar scene. Like just another
this Varys, I guess, meets with her, and she basically, she calls out like his I wrote here, she calls his seducing bullshit, like the way like he comes up to her and he's trying to like, you know what I mean, like just lay it on thick with her, you know what I mean, like he's just like, oh yeah, well, Varys, like, go on, like he's the way he's addressing her, just see like she could see through the bull. That's what I like about about this character. She really just like no bullshit with this character. Like she really just
said he's a spider in the garden. That's when he said it right there. She's
right.
Yeah.
She's a straight shooter. Like one of the few on this show that like does not care. She'll say anything that's on her mind, right? Which is, I think it's just funny because she's the older lady. Like, some people, they say that about old folks to begin with. Like, it's just true. No filter, this woman, right? She doesn't.
No. Yeah, like her line when she's like, oh, when he was about to walk away and she's like, oh, like it come, like, whatever, like what happens when the non-existent bumps into the decrepit, like talking about like Varys's lack of member and her like old dusty self. Like
I did like that line. I did make note of that. That's a good one. Yeah. I also wrote down a note here that I love Varys's getup, the huge arms that he has on these robes. I don't know, like I like the style of it, man. Like the way he because he's always like sitting there like this. He's got these huge like droopy like art. I don't know. I dig the robe style quite honestly that he's rocking in these scenes. So what he's usually like, it does make him look like of some stature, like official of some sort. I don't know. Like I do like it. I know it's kind of like a priest type of deal, I guess, or something.
Picture Nico in something like this.
It just looks fun. It just looks fun to wear that, Yeah, I don't know. I dig it. Like when you see like it farther away, the arm sleeves droop down really low, right? It's pretty
with his shoulders or with it, the sleeves,
No, I dig it. It's a good look. He's pulling it off.
He's got nothing under there. Look.
Well, he has nothing under there. Anyways, we know that.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so he
No pun
mentions
intended.
that he knows you took an interest in Sansa Stark, and he's referring to when they spoke previously about Joffrey, right? And again, he's got little birds everywhere, so he found out about this, and she's like, yeah, she's interesting. She's like, oh, she's interesting. And she's like, is she? She's like, not really. Like right away, he's like, is
Straight up.
oh, is she? And he's like, nah, not really. He's like, I just lied. It's not interesting, but
I'm just being polite. Yeah. Oh,
Like
this is when
yeah.
she mentions, sorry.
Like, but she does have an interesting childhood, she says, right? And this is where, like you said, you previously mentioned about the whole realization that Baelish is positioning himself to be aligned with the Starks as a result of this whole thing, and they're trying to figure out like Varys obviously is
Or he says
Varys has been trying to go against him this whole time, right? Like, so he doesn't want him to get advanced farther than he is. So he's actually really upset at his success as of late, let's say, right? So he's been trying to go out of his way to stop Baelish and find out what he's up to, right?
Yeah.
I should know what his plans are with the Stark, with Sansa.
So they talk
Isn't that
about
why you originally went to go see her and talk to her about that too? Like you wanted to know what they're talking about their allies and how they choose their allies.
right.
Hmm.
And then Margaery,
They have a good talk.
speaking of Sansa, she meets with Sansa and she says that she wants to be friends with her, and she says that she could see her in Highgarden when she's
Fine, bitch.
and she basically lets her know, like, once I'm queen, I'll make that happen. And she's basically trying to align her with Loras, her brother, which we know is gay, but of course they want him to give birth to a child still, and they're really pushing for that. And again, they're playing they're making their moves as well. The Tyrells, they're trying to align themselves with these other big families and get into positions of power as they do. And she's really kind of going out of her way to make friends with Sansa as a result of that, because she's had I guess this plan in her mind that we're finding out for the first time here about her and Loras, right? So
yeah, she's planting the safe sister seed.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. And again, I think she's one of those type of characters that even in these moments, you don't know if she's being genuine or not. I think at this point in time, because Margaery does seem like a good person, but we know that she seems to be playing, Joffrey, but she's also coming at it from the perspective like she knows that Joffrey's a horrible person because she's learned this much from Sansa already. So like, it's interesting to like, but do we take her for? Do we believe her in this situation as well, if she's being genuine with her or not, right? Like, it's hard to say at this point.
I think I do believe her. Like, I think, like, matchmaking aside, because of course that's like a huge like bonus to this whole game. I think everybody like has their own motives when they agree on a match. But I think Marjorie, she knows how stuck and unsafe Sansa is, like, in the capital. So she's trying to find a solution to get her out. Now she knows she knows how Loras's perversions, let's call them,
Yes.
so she doesn't think it's not the best match, but if it gets her out of King's Landing and away from Joffrey and away from Cersei, I think it's like the closest thing she can do to help her.
Yeah.
So I think she's being honest and truthful, because I don't see why she wouldn't be.
Yeah.
Um
I also think so, but again, there's no way to tell for sure. I'm just saying, if looking at how she's operating with other people right now, who's to say that she's being honest in this moment either? And I know, again, because let's say, because I've seen the show, but I think it's hard to tell at this point still. I don't know. What do you think, Jay? Do you think you can trust her? Because I also trust her right now that she's being honest with Sansa, but I don't know. Like you said, what does she have to gain from the situation? Christina's right, though, in that sense. I don't know what she has to gain out of not being honest with her, other than getting her to marry her brother. She has nothing else to gain in that situation.
But she knows how her brother is, so it's not like she's doing it like, I mean, yeah, it's political and it's power, for sure, but I don't know, like, it's like,
yeah.
But her brother also tried to have. um, yeah, I'm gonna stay out of that. You can't trust the redheads. That's all. I'm starting to realize
Stay away from redheads.
the gingers. That's it, man. You don't know. You don't know what they're thinking inside.
Oh God.
Well,
So
they are the daywalkers.
yeah. So then we get to the name of this episode, the Night's Watch funeral for one of their men, and they mention that fact that they have that, I guess, mantra, that chant that they say that now their watch has ended, essentially when they lose one of their own, and hence the name of the episode. And this is kind of where, again, the whole thing's developing with the displeasure of their current situation at Craster's Keep. Like they just continue. Like there's a lot of people that are really upset about their current situation, that are expressing as much around the fire. And yeah, this is developing. You can see this story developing right now with everybody really upset at the current status quo, right? Then Craster speaks to their Lord Commander and complains about them being there still, says it's time to leave, basically. And, and he's complaining about the fact that, they has mouths to feed there and everything else. But they haven't really been fed. So they're like really fed up. And then this is where you see the uprising basically develop, like immunity of sorts. And men are starved and fed up, and Craster, yeah, he says he has to feed his women and gets called stingy, essentially, right? Like the way he's been acting. And these people are supposed to be his guests, but yet he's treating them like shit. He's making them work. He's not giving them food. They're fucking miserable, right? They get, he starts waving an axe around, threatening them, and one of them calls him a bastard, stabs him. And then they're off to the races. Basically, the Lord Commander gets stabbed. They all start attacking each other. And during
tell him that they were supposed to, he could eat Sam to survive the winter.
Is that when they were calling him Piggy or whatever? That
that was before Sam went to find like Gilly, like giving birth or something like that.
Terrible.
Yeah,
fucking Sam. Sam's such a nice guy. And then speaking of Sam, during everything going on, all the chaos, he grabs Gilly and her child, and they escape amongst everything going on, and they basically make a run for it. And it is something that he vowed to do. He come back for her, previously when he left her the first time around, if you recall, and he left her something. And
yeah, he left her the thimble.
That's right. Yeah. So yeah,
he called him a bastard, daughter, fucking wilding bastard, if you want to say it right.
Wow.
Right?
That's colorful.
I wrote that down. I thought that was a really good one. My grandmother would be cursing my soul if she heard me say that word so many times.
And finally, before I hand it over here to Christina to kind of tell us of her favorite scene, possibly of the series here, we got
99 sons, but a bitch ain't one.
Thank you.
I had to, bro. I had to, man. That's the only thing I thought of when I heard that.
Yeah, that's good. Sorry. I like that. Arya and Thoros and the rest of the Brotherhood without banners bring them to a cave of sorts. The Hound confronts the group and calls them all deserters, speaks to Beric Dondarrion. I don't know. I suppose it's
Dondarrion, yeah.
Lord of Blackhaven. Basically, the Hound's on trial for murder, they basically say, because and then Arya kind of comes forth with some claim to what he had done previous to this as well.
Poor Micah.
What's that?
To poor Micah.
Oh, that's right. Yes, the cheese monger's boy or whatever, right? Is that what?
Yeah.
And basically, there's talk about the Lord of the Light here, and they say, listen, trial by combat, essentially. And Beric says that he will fight the Hound, and he steps up, and that's where that ends there. And Jay has yet to see the next episodes like I have, as I've gone ahead a little bit, but some interesting stuff that's about to go down here between him and the Hound, let's just say. So stay tuned for that, guys, and that'll be interesting. But the floor is yours, Christina. Why don't you set up the last scene of the episode? And
I was going to say, is there another scene? I'm pretty sure
there's one last scene. It was like...
Go ahead, Christina.
It still gives me goosebumps, like, to this day. Like, I just watched it, and I'm, like, full body goosebumps. So the last scene of the show, we get to... back to Daenerys, and she's in Astapor, and she's about to make the trade with the master. I don't remember what his name was. And
Kranis or something. I think it's Kranis or something like that.
I don't know. By the end of the scene, it doesn't matter anymore. Um, yeah, so, she's walking amongst the Unsullied, and she walks
This guy?
with
Yes.
yeah, that guy. Yeah, so she's walking with, Missandei and Jorah and Sir Barristan, and, walks up to him, and they do the trade, like, she unlatches the compartment that has her dragon in it, um, and he flies up, she has him on a chain, she hands it to this master, he hands over the whip is what they call it,
Yes.
and she's looking at it, and she says, yeah, that scene. And then she asks Missandei, like, "Is it done?" And it's like, "Yep, it's done." So then she turns around and walks toward the Unsullied, and much to everyone's surprise, she starts speaking Valerian. She's like, "Dovageti," and it's just like, and everyone's like taken aback. Even Jorah is taken aback. Everyone is taken aback, like, what the heck? And then she starts speaking to the Unsullied and giving them commands like, move forward, stop, and while this is happening, the master's in the background and he's wrangling with the dragon because the dragon, like, he's on
Starts
a chain, like,
starts
it's a
crying.
dragon.
Yeah, and it's like crying. It's like like whining almost. Like and he's on the chain. Like as soon as he
Yeah.
her over, because that's their mother, right? So, to the dragon. So like he's not happy, right? Yeah.
Yeah, no. And yeah, and then she starts speaking to the Unsullied, like, like, I command you to kill all the slavers, all the people who
She
hold
set that
chains.
up too, eh? Like
100%.
she
Kill
even kind
any
of worded it in there saying that these guys are just so stupid. That's why I'm saying these girls are smart, man. They're not getting outplayed in their own game, man.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
outplaying the guys. Holy
In
fuck!
perfect Valyrian, she's speaking to the Unsullied army, and, then they do start killing. She's like, "Don't harm the children, don't harm, the other slaves, like, just kill the masters," and they start doing that, and then the master guy who has the dragon in his arm or in his hand is like, "No, stop, stop. I'm the ruler here." And then she, like, turns around and, like, just tells the dragon, like, in Valyrian, like, "Dracarys," like, blow his
Yeah.
ass with fire, like, just kill him,
Yeah.
and sh he does, and it was just like, "What the heck?" And then you see flames flying
Yeah.
out in the background, she's standing there, and it's just like all of this, like,
It,
it's crazy.
and she says that a dragon is not a slave, right?
Yes.
And then one of his final words, and that's how great the scene was, because again he's been talking shit about her this whole time, and then when the reveal happens that she actually has understood this whole time what he's been saying and what he thinks of her, really, like he basically said, yeah, this bitch has her army or whatever in that scene, and
He
then like
does, yeah.
turns about and makes this huge reveal. Yeah, what a great scene, and he got his comeuppance, and it's one of those times in Game of Thrones where, like, not
Classic
there.
scene.
There is other times where this happens, but like the guy that you want to kind of something bad to happen to, instead of the people that you don't want something bad to happen to, happens. Like, and then you're like, yeah, that guy fucking deserved that. Like,
100%.
and like again, I have two comments, really, I should say, or question. One, again, I don't know why this guy could think he could wrangle the fucking dragon. Like, this, as soon as you see that the dragon get handed over, like, what do
You
you
got all fucking happy. That's all. A dragon, like you said.
I get it, but like, what now? Like, you don't know how to fucking train a dragon. Like, I don't know what he was thinking, this guy, right? Like, what are you gonna
But
do?
it's like, I'm sorry, it's the same thing as people who, like, have never had dogs, and they think that they're gonna get a dog, and it's gonna be a fantastic magical experience, and
That's
it's
a good
like,
That's why
point.
I don't
you
get a dog.
you have no idea what it's like to have a dog if
Right,
you've never had one. Same, like, you don't know what it's like to have a dragon because you've never had one.
right. Yeah, I just don't think there was much thought put into it. Like
No.
you said, he's power hungry, right, and greedy, and whatever else. And secondly,
And he thought she was a woman. That's the thing. Like he
well,
made it
Yeah, oh, yeah,
clear.
and then she does explain who she is because he's
yeah,
like, how she understands or she speaks Valyrian, and then she's like, oh, she explains, she goes through all her titles, like, "I'm Daenerys Stormborn,"
right.
Yeah, of the
"I'm a
house of
Targaryen."
Targaryen and the blood of Valerian. The
That was
fuck?
my question, though. That's my question was, she does say, yeah, Valerian's my mother tongue. And again, We know this because we've seen the show, and you would know this if you've seen House of the Dragon. So did that come as a surprise to you, Jay, or not really? Did you piece that together that she knew this whole time?
Well, I kind of, you know what? A lot of that Daenerys thing with her and her brother in this,
Right.
right when her brother got fucking. But before this, but it's the hair that kind of caught me from because it's the same as the colors of the blonde, like the whitehead
No, but like,
blonde in the fucking.
because was it a surprise to you that she understood what he was going on this whole? Because like knowing that Valerian was like a language that the Targaryens understood because they speak it on House of the Dragon. Did you know? Did you piece it together prior to this reveal that she knew what he was saying this whole time?
If she. No, I didn't because I didn't realize he was speaking Valerian at first.
Okay, because we didn't have the liberty of seeing it this way because we seen the show first and then we seen House of the Dragon. So we didn't.
The only reason why it told me is because it says Valerian.
Right.
Oh, the subtitles.
The subtitle, right? But yeah, if you were to tell me that, I wouldn't have known it was Valerian and she was understanding because she was playing stupid. She was giving all the hints, man. Like, buddy, I'm gonna fuck you up, man.
Yeah.
You know, like
I will say that now looking at some of the scenes where he was talking shit about her previous to this, you do see her give him looks
She's
in
like
certain scenes. Yes.
like rolling her
she has
eyes.
that badass look. Yeah.
Yes. But again, they don't. It was still a shock, I think, at the time because I don't think like I pieced that together. Most viewers, I don't think, pieced that together that she was playing dumb, and I think it really takes.
That's a good here.
Jorah Mormont is again in like standing there in amazement, like what did I fucking witness like here? Because like whenever again, like she doesn't have everything like figured out, yet she does. Like you know what I mean? Like a lot of the time, like she
just gives that look, right? And then she's
like,
got this and this, but she just dropped it on the ground.
Yeah, so after all of that's said and done, like, I mean, I think that's the first time she really uses like all of her titles too, like, or in that way, you know, like in that, like, instead of just like telling people who she is, she's like commanding them to understand who she is. And it's like the first time you really see her, you know, in a position of power. I mean, she's just acquired this huge army of like machines, basically. And like again, like, you know, after the dust settles and the fire is burnt out and you know she walks up to the Unsullied and basically tells them like, you're free men now, like you don't have to follow me if you don't want to, like you're free. But like
they still followed her.
They still, you know, and then it's like, you know, they start with the chanting and the this. She hops on her white horse and off they go to the next city, you know, to collect more resources, more people, because she's got to head across the sea. Yeah.
Look at them all. This is all fucking the army here, man.
Yeah,
imagine how many are in like a pack. Let's say there's 100 right here in this little, you know, and she's got 8,000 of them.
Yeah, plus 3 dragons. She's like, and she has the Dothraki board. Like
bigger.
she's moving on up. Like you can see it. It's starting. It's like she's really collecting her troops.
Yeah.
That's why the clothes stay on.
What a great scene to end the episode on, though. Absolutely. And I think it's it does speak to
well, doesn't Jorah and Thing look like at the end too? Don't they look like sort of well they're kind of like impressed but scared too because they don't know what the fuck she's capable of now?
Because they like what Nico and I were talking about earlier is like, you know, they have this doubt like that she doesn't know what she's doing, and they have this doubt that she's making decisions that like aren't correct. But really it's like she's making decisions that are exactly what need to happen.
Right. And then they work at the same time because they've already kind of gone all in on this idea of her being a queen and even moving forward, because like I said, I've already watched the next couple episodes. He does speak to Jorah about this. Like he's like, so what do you really think of her? Like they're still on the fence, these guys, about what's happening, right? But time and time again, like there's been a few instances already up to this point where again, whenever the chips are down and people they count her out, she rises to the occasion. And that's kind of what like the ongoing theme has been, I think, throughout this. Like there was a moment in time where they almost died of thirst in the desert, but they survived, they made it, they figured it out, right? But like I think like that's what I mean. Like so now like to get to this point where she's finally now a master army and she's got all her dragons still, it's pretty crazy, right? Like it is awesome to see like she's gone through what she's gone through, like from the start of the, again, even in these 3 seasons, we're not even halfway through the 3rd season. Like she's coming up pretty quick now with this.
Well, and I was thinking too, like, really, is the dragons gonna listen to that guy? Like, how is she gonna tell the dragons to listen to that guy? Like, I mean, I was thinking that along the lines. I just didn't know where it was going, right?
Yeah.
Like, I didn't know that but once she had the army in her power, you knew that kind of that was it, man. They do whatever because they kept insisting that you take these people and this army and they're gonna do whatever you say. Right? They kept insisting that, and I think that was, she's, you don't think about it, but she had the wheel spinning.
Well, that's right. Christina said, like, she turned,
Yeah.
Like, the deal's done. Okay.
Yeah.
And then, like, she's like, as soon as she knew it was done, she's like, all right, now I'm going to do this. Like, she knew what her next move was. She was just waiting. She was waiting for that fucking power to be transferred over to her of those men. And as soon as it was, she knew, like, from day one.
I got more than Lannisters now, no?
No, not yet. No. But I mean, like
that's 8,000 plus 3 dragons. Come on.
First, I know, but for someone who
it's just
came
starting,
from nothing, didn't have anything, and kept having things taken away from her. Like, yeah, she was, the Cal's wife, but like, she lost that hoard when he died, and then she had to get it back, and then she did get it back, and then now she has to find more and she has to collect more because she also doesn't that's what Jorah and Sir Barristan are telling her is like, you don't understand the type of people that are in Westeros. Like, yes, you're trying to get there to get on the Iron Throne, but it's going to take more than just you commanding armies. Like, you're going to need to like win the love of the people. You're going to need to win over you're going to need to collect allies, but you need to go with something.
It's not enough for her that
just that she has the name.
Yeah,
that's not enough. That doesn't mean anything.
It also
just
has to
dragons.
It also has to go her way, though. Like, there's a certain way that she wants to do things and get to that point. And that's what I mean. That's kind of the pushback that she's been experiencing from Jorah and everybody else around her, is that, like, even like her stances on slavery and everything else, where they're like, oh, listen, that's part of it. This is war. Like, this is the way of the world. This is that. She's like, no, this isn't the way I want things. Like, that's so, like, she's always seemed resistant to giving in to the whims of people around her because she does not see the same way, things the same way as they do, through her experiences, like Christina said, like, right. So I agree with her completely on all that. So she is a complex character for sure. She is one of the, that's why I think she's one of the fan favorite characters of this show, and obviously one of the center points of everything, right? I mean, she's one of the people that's vying for the throne throughout.
I mean, I thought you didn't like her at the end. It was somebody that had white hair in that last season. Yeah, wasn't it?
So I admit I had very strong feelings about how how the show ends, and I have to say it's like, this was just one example of
many.
I don't know. This was just one example that I can't even. I'm just gonna say something I don't want to say because I don't want to ruin it for you.
Yeah,
so I'm not gonna say it. But
I'll admit that I didn't love her the whole time throughout the series. There were certain points where I was questioning what was going on with her character, but that's just because I think that's more writing issues that I had with the show, not her performance or not the character itself, like me not liking the character. I think some of the things that they chose for the character maybe didn't ring true in the long run for me. I think
just watch it again.
Yeah. Well, that's right. That's why we're doing this. We'll see if I feel differently.
Yeah.
Right? So, So, anyways,
I have a few.
So
I don't know. I have a few fun facts this episode because why not?
Yeah.
And it's specifically for her. So I don't know if you guys know this, and I don't know if the viewers know this, or she says I'm Daenerys Stormborn, right, and of the house Targaryen. And like for me, I was like, what the heck is Storm? Like I hear this, like what is Stormborn? Like where is that? Because it's not the place that her family owns. It's Dragonstone. It's not like, what is Stormborn? Like, what is that? So I looked it up, and literally she was just, that's like her middle name. It was given to her because the night she was born, there was a huge storm that basically took out the entire Targaryen fleet from Dragonstone.
Oh wow.
So
Really?
that's why she calls herself Daenerys Stormborn, because that's like her middle name.
Does that signify like some premonition of like when she was born they had this huge storm and like this is the coming of like some, you know what I mean? Like is it something like that? Like where
I don't know. Apparently that's what Rhaegar was already in his like war. So he like, because he's much older than her, right?
sure.
So Rhaegar was already in his war, and then she was born, that huge storm. I don't know when in the timeline it was, but
Mad King you're referring
that's
to.
no, her brother,
Her
Rhaegar.
father. I thought you were talking about her father. Okay.
No, no, her father, Aerys, he was on the throne, but her brother was like waging, like he was in a war that they allude to a lot too. Um,
I
I
never knew
thought
that. Oh, I nenever knew that. That's interesting. I never knew that. So that does signify.
and
It does count. It matter. I guess that her name. There is something behind it. A storyline.
there is something like, it's not relevant really to the story, but I just thought it was interesting because I had no idea what like Stormborn was. Like, what the heck does that mean?
Right. And then she fully just gives her whole name.
And she just says it every single time she's, or Missandei is telling people her title, or somebody is saying, "You're speaking to Daenerys of Stormborn of House Targaryen." It's like, Mother of Dragons and XYZ. It's like, well, what the heck is Stormborn? So I looked it up, and I'm just like, oh, that's what it means. Okay, that's cool.
And the whole name Khaleesi that Jorah usually still calls her is from the whole Dothraki. I guess.
Yeah, because she's the queen
Right.
of the
so
Dothraki.
many names for fuck's sake.
She has a lot of titles. Yeah, no, she has a lot of titles.
Titles breed titles.
That's right. That's right.
Well, think about it. I mean, like they said, what was his name? Arian. When Joffrey was gloating about all the dead guys, and they were saying how Arian bright flame, right? And then I was wondering why they called him bright flame, but he drank the fucking wildfire because he thought he was going to turn into a dragon.
Yes.
Yeah, he was
That would have
another
been cool to
Targaryen
watch.
who drank like wildfire because
Right.
Fucking dumbass.
Anything else? Any other facts or?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, two more. It's again about her costumes. So you'll notice, especially in this like few episodes or the scene or season, she wears like that blue, that like royal blue color, or that bright blue color, and that apparently is a symbol for the Dothraki, because that's one of the their like precious gem colors.
Yep.
And so that was like her nod, or that's supposed to be her nod to the
Right.
Dothraki. And even though the style of clothing is very Targaryen,
Right.
it's she chooses the color. And if you notice, like all of her people like closest to her
Yes.
wear that color as well,
Yes.
until it changes like later on. But because she's coming into her power, she's
Right.
still like the Khaleesi. She's using that as like her yeah.
Yeah. See, these are the
But
things.
wouldn't those colors and stuff be like representative for other things too? Like I mean, like red, and there's be
Yeah,
they've been
so
talking about that.
yeah, the house, especially in Westeros, like the house color, like certain houses have colors, like the Lannisters are like gold and red, I think it is. So you'll see
The
they're wearing a
crest,
lot
right?
of
Or whatever.
reds and a lot of golds, and High Garden, like the Tyrells, they wear a lot of greens and golds, and like you see a lot of that. But for her, like Targaryens are usually they black or red, like those are their colors. But because she's not yet come into her full Targaryenness, this is her way, I think, of at this time paying homage, or like, showing respect to.
These are the type of details that are lost on me. So I'm glad you bring them up because like I know like there
Yeah.
are people like the set designers and the people that like do this kind of stuff, and like even in film sometimes they try to foreshadow people that are going to be bad by color representation and stuff like
Yeah.
that. And these are the type of
That's what we
details
were
when I
talking
watch movie, like when we've done our movie reviews, there's people that have come on and said things like this that they
Mhm.
they've realized, like sometimes things are played out for metaphors of stuff. I'm always lost on details like this about stuff. I actually find myself to be a very non-observant person for the most part, like in life. So
Well,
like
there's so much going on, like especially in this show that like it's hard to pay attention to all the little details, but it's little things. It's like you do some extra reading, or you just notice. You're like, oh, why is she wearing
yeah,
blue? Like, why is she wearing? And then you look it up, and you're like, oh, that's the
yeah.
reason.
No, but that's what
Um,
makes it so great that there's volumes to
it,
like. There's like actually like when you really dive deep into some of this stuff, like the lengths that they go to, kind of sometimes to like, you know what I mean, like
yeah,
kind of stuff. That's awesome. That's
it's
really
even with her hair. Like, the thing about her hair. Like, have you heard this?
no
Yeah, so if you notice, like if you go back to season 1, her hair is like out and it's soft and it's wavy and it's like not tied back in braids.
right.
But as she goes along in her story,
Fire
she
up.
adds more braids again to pay respect to the Dothraki, because warriors, or they would grow their hair and they would add
Yes.
like a braid for every fight that they won, and they would grow their hair. So even for her, you'll notice as the seasons go on, she adds more and more braids to her hair, and her hair becomes more and more intricate
Right.
in the design or the concept of it, because she's winning more and more battles. So even if you just go back to season 1 and look at her hairstyles from season 1 to like now, season 3, it's like the amount of braids that has in her hair are like
Right.
multiplied.
Yeah, I didn't notice. See, like subtle details like that are lost on me. That's interesting though.
Yeah.
That
There's
is
a lot
That
here.
one's a little bit more common. Like the braid thing is a little bit more common. I've heard that like before.
yeah.
But the blue thing I didn't know.
I remember the time where I said, I think years ago when we used to watch the show, I made a passing
These?
comment to Christine about how Cersei's hair, how like beautiful it is. She's like, that's a wig, you know. Just like I'm like, oh. And then like
Yeah.
obviously I've seen Lena Headey now, like with short hair and like everything else that I've seen her in.
And like really dark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then I'm like, oh man, like I always thought that was her hair. I was just
But
like,
even Amelia Clark, like she's a natural brunette, right? But it's like, but you would never, well, I guess aside from her eyebrows, which weirdly like blend in with the platinum blonde. I don't know how she does it.
yeah, I know it's true.
But
Unfortunately, the only other thing I've seen her in outside of this was the Terminator movie where she played fucking
oh,
Everything's in the Terminator movie.
it's terrible. It's terrible. Like I mean, that movie's bad too. So I can't blame her really, but her performance in it wasn't good. Amelia
Oh yeah, everybody's got blonde hair, man. Like fucking Marjorie, fucking.
they're mostly all wigs. They're all really nice.
all of them are
Really good
wigs.
wigs. Yeah, that's what I mean. But they made it look good. So
Yeah. So,
you have
quick
one more
question.
for us? Oh yeah, go ahead.
I want a question, just because it's
Or you could just ask the question without saying question.
House of Dragon. In the House of Dragons, I'm trying to follow where these guys, because if they're still here, I know now you see the one Targaryen, Valyrian, whatever you want to call her. But what about Marjorie, Tyrell? Isn't that the ones that were like kind of Jamaican looking?
No, that's the Valerians. That's the Valerians. I told you this already. The black people are
Really?
the Valerians. Yes.
But they had white hair.
I told you this already. The black people on that show were the Valerian
But that's
people.
just because that's their house.
That's who they were.
That's who they are.
Because they were
That's
further
like
south, so they
but
have
Jay,
blonde.
have
Or
you not
north, they have blonde
noticed?
hair.
Have you not noticed like every house has like their own, like they focus a lot on hair color,
Yes.
not so much skin color in Game of Thrones, but definitely hair color.
Yeah.
That's how Ned
I noticed
confirmed
the
that
hair color.
Gendry was Robert's bastard son,
That's right.
versus like, and that's how he figured out that like Joffrey and like all of his siblings were not Roberts, because all of Robert's bastards were born of dark hair,
Yeah.
right? Black hair.
We talked about it when that scene happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So all of the houses have their hair colors or their traits or their something, so
That book, Jay. Remember all the lineages or like hair of this, hair of that. Remember they were going over like in the
hair of gold, like hair of black,
what
hair of black.
tipped them off too. Like so, they all have their traits, but those are the Valerians. And you literally said this a couple episodes ago too, and I had to correct you again. I'm like, those were the
Yeah, I think it was
Wasn't a black guy married to the Tyrell or something, or wasn't it? It was like a
Jay. Get rid of the Tyrells in House of Dragon. Like they don't exist. Like just get rid of them.
her
they're there. Marjorie's there.
what's her name?
Rhaenys.
Rhaenyra's aunt was married
Rhaenys.
to the Valerian guy, the black guy that in that show.
Corlys.
Yes, yeah. Sorry, I couldn't remember his name.
Yeah, that's okay.
But yeah, that was the Valerian part of that show. That was him. His and then the sons. They had the mixed sons like that.
Yes,
that's the Valerians. Those are Valerians.
Yeah. So Corlys Valerian is the black man with the silver white dreadlocks.
Yes.
He's married to Rhaenys Targaryen, who also has platinum blonde hair.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He'll
I know
figure
the
it out.
platinum
He'll
blonde
figure
hair.
it out. He'll figure it
I
out.
know the platinum.
Hit us with the last fact. Get out of here, Jay. Hit us with the fact. You'll figure it out, guys.
No, that was it. I'm done. No more facts. No more facts.
Yeah, you're gonna be Meister facts the next time. Meister fun facts.
Sir fact.
Yeah. Jay, did you figure it out yet, or are you good?
There's 1,000 photos. I can't. Like there. This one
We should
here.
play a game next time. Like
This one
name
here.
this person.
I've been dying to play the board game. Okay, it looks
What?
so much fun,
The-
like fucking Monopoly.
The Risk?
Yeah.
Is
Game
it
of Thrones Risk?
Yeah.
Oh, my
This
God,
guy.
I'm down. So that is Corlys's brother.
This guy.
Yes, he is the brother. He is a Valerian, but
That's
he
his
is the
daughter.
brother. That is his niece.
Yeah. Those are
Because these guys came in near the end of the House of Dragons
Again,
season.
those
he was
two-
there.
No, she's been there forever.
those two are united. Those two. That's why they have the mixed race children. That's what I mean. Like the Valerians and Targaryens. This is why it's their native tongue and all that shit. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Like in that show. Like they're
So
very.
it's literally all fucking basically Valerians in the
This
fucking
is what I'm saying.
Targaryens in the
In
fucking
Game of Thrones. When we were
House of
watching House of
Dragons.
Dragon, I told you that there's no representation of Valerians in Game of Thrones. That's why when I saw the show, I was like, "Oh, look, there's actual fucking Valerian." The most I heard Valerians on Game of Thrones was Valerian steel. Everyone's like, "Oh, is that Valerian steel? Valerian steel." Everyone's like, right? Like I was just like, everyone because it's like the best swords, right? They would talk about it all the time. Like
I think there's Valyria, which is where Valyrian steel comes from, because Valyria was like a continent, or like not a country, it was a continent, right? With different houses, different provinces, different whatever. But I think the Valyrian lineage, they got wiped out. They are wiped out. If you think about it, like there's how many of them left in House of the Dragon? Like there's none. Like, there's two girls.
I was about to say they're already they're already being shifted off to the side.
Yeah, like
Hey, but doesn't this one look kind of like the Daenerys's fucking brother that got the
yes,
gold put on
because
his head?
they're Targaryens.
So they are really because of this.
That's
fucking blonde
Aegon
hair.
and that's
So you're
Aemon.
Targaryen.
Yes.
You are.
Those two were Targaryens, yes, because their
What about you?
father
'Cause
was
you have the same
Viserys
blood.
Targaryen.
I mean, you have the same hairline.
Jay.
I don't know. I'm just asking.
Time to wrap up the show, guys. We're at
Yeah,
I'm
an
having
hour
a
and
great
35
time, though.
minutes. Come on.
Christina, despite this whole fucking deconstruction of Valerians and everything here at the end, I hope you'll join us again for future episodes, despite
Yes,
JT
absolutely.
and his comments as he tends to do.
That's
Well, I
fine.
mean,
Hey, man,
I
he's
went
keeping
light
it
on the
fresh.
comments today, man.
You
know,
did.
I
You were
went- I
pretty
went light.
quiet.
I'm just
I know.
joking. I'm just joking.
There was a lot to say. There was a lot of I had a lot of quotes like that I had written down. Like I even thought when Marjorie said to fucking thing that to Joffrey that sometimes severity is the price we pay for greatness. So that's what made me think that she's fucking a little evil too, that bitch.
She's playing
So I'm
his
starting
game.
to wonder. Yeah, man, I'm starting to
She's
wonder,
playing his
right?
game.
All
Don't be
playing
turned
the-
on.
all
Don't stay there. Don't stay there.
Okay.
All right, guys. So thank you once again for joining us. Thank you to Christina for coming on as a guest for these
sure.
last few episodes. And please, this will not be the last time you see Christina here on the show. If you enjoyed yourself, as I mentioned, Christina, please join us again whenever you can.
Oh yeah, the sea snake is the black guy.
Are
Sorry.
you still fucking going on about this? I'm trying to close out the show.
Yeah, dude, it's killing me, man.
Christina, the worst part about this is we've literally gone over this before already on this show. Like I've had to explain this to her. And then you have Christina who comes on, who knows all the fucking names of those characters, explains it even better than I did. I just said the black guy is a Valerian. you're like, what? Yes. All right. Anyway.
This is why just focus on Game of Thrones right now. Okay.
Yeah.
Just
Sea
focus
Snake,
on.
I thought because of the islands, I thought, Caribbean, I thought he was different.
Oh my
know?
God. Just,
Tyrell.
can you cut this out?
That being said, all right. Thank you, everybody. Once again, thank you for tuning in. Christina, again, despite all this, please join us again. And as we make our way through season 3. And once again, guys, as always, you tune in to us. These do air live, usually Thursdays at 8 p.m. Make sure you like and subscribe and all that good stuff. And hopefully we get some of you guys to join us on the journey of watching this, rewatching this, however you slice it, because we got to get ready for next year's second season of House of the Dragon, guys. So we're all kind of making our way towards that. And I think by the time we're done this show, we'll be revisiting House of the Dragon ourselves. Which will be sometime from now, but still, it's going to be a good time. So make sure you catch up, guys. And even if you're a super fan like Christina here, the Spider in the Garden down there, she's watching it for the 6th time now. Is it?
I'm. You know what? Why not? Let's just.
But she's not a master or a meister or a sir. Okay.
There you go. There you go.
No, I'm the spider.
She's the spider in the garden.
I'm always listening.
All right, everyone. Thank you once again.
She's a spider in the chat. You know when we have that one viewer when I'm recording with Lewis? It's her.
All right. All right, guys. See you next time. Thank you, Christina.
Peace out.